Mr. President.
I recognize the senator from New Jersey.
Mr. President, I rise today to lift up the fact that this reconciliation bill will do real harm to countless American families. It's not theoretical or hypothetical. Families are hurting right now. The opiate crisis that has ravaged large parts of my state, mental health crisis that people across this country are so concerned about and are begging for help about. And so many other challenges that are out there. Every single family knows the fear of a health crisis. Like Susan, a mother I met at a town hall down in Egg Harbor. A town hall that was part of a series of town halls that I did, trying to highlight the challenges that so many families are facing. And in this crowded room of over hundreds of people, a woman named Susan shared her story. A mom of a 24-year-old son with Down syndrome. They used Medicaid to be able to cover his care. She broke down at the weight of her fear and worry of her child, something a lot of us can relate to. She said to me that this is the face of Medicaid. And as I went over to give her a hug, I remember what she said. It's real. And it is real. And I know everyone in here knows that. I know because offices on both sides of the aisle are getting the same calls. Our phone systems broke down because of the overwhelming volume of people calling and literally begging us not to do this. Begging us to protect Medicaid so their kids can see the doctors. Begging us not to cut SNAP benefits so their students can have access to healthy food. It is a humbling experience seeing a parent begging for the resources to take care of their sick child. And yet, as I look around, I see far too many people rushing through this process to get it done, with little care about the resulting impact it will have, generational damage that will be done while we are rushing through, barreling through, without the ability to properly debate this. Well, I want you to know, the people in New Jersey, the people in this country, this budget represents an abandonment by their government. And this will hurt everyone we are supposed to be helping. Some of the people that could be impacted the most are people within the disability community. Hundreds of thousands of people in New Jersey with disabilities rely on Medicaid for coverage. Over 15 million across our country, including a man named Tom Spadaro, a disability advocate in Ocean County, New Jersey, who joined me for a town hall. After a gun accident when he was 11, Tom is a total quadriplegic, dependent on a ventilator and others. Medicaid helped him go to school, then college, and in his own words, has given him dignity. When talking about this bill that we are debating here today, he said, quote, "If I lose Medicaid, I feel like I'm getting shot in the head again. This time, it's not a bullet, it's legislation." I want his words to echo through this chamber today for everyone to hear. If this budget passes, families in every single state across this country will feel these cuts long after the media and the Trump administration have decided it's time to move on and get over it. A cancer patient doesn't just move on when they have to delay treatment because they've lost insurance coverage, when a family has to upend their lives to become caregivers to their parents because they can't afford elder care, when a hospital closes and the new closest emergency room is hours away after the child is in an accident and needs help now, not in 5 hours, they won't get over it. America will feel this long after Donald Trump is no longer in the White House, and they will remember what has happened to their lives because of it. Now, there's some people listening who might not think that this is going to affect them. But these cuts to health care in this bill are so dramatic that it's going to have an impact that reverberates all throughout our communities. I talked to a hospital leader in New Jersey who said that these cuts could be so devastating for their revenue because of how much they get through Medicaid reimbursements that they're not sure that they're going to be able to keep their doors open. A hospital, not certain that they can keep their doors open. This is not the only story like this across my state, across the country. Whether it's rural hospitals or suburban or urban, we're going to have a lot of challenges that are going to reverberate beyond just those on Medicaid. It's going to affect every single one of us and raise prices at the same time. Losing that critical care in communities not only abandons people in their time of most need, but it leaves a tragic ripple effect on others and other hospitals. So today I'm putting forward an amendment to this bill that would stop this from happening and directly take out the parts of this bill that would force hospital closures and reduce access to affordable health care for so many across this country. In no reality should we be helping billionaires send their rockets to outer space while turning people away at hospitals. And yet this is the reality we find ourselves in, deciding how much care is acceptable to take away from families across New Jersey to fit a budget line, or how many patients can be turned away from life-saving medication just so that the wealthy can have a nice tax break. A doctor in Frenchtown shared some profound words with my office. She said, Medicaid is a reflection of our values. It's how we show up for each other when life gets hard. Well, what does it say about our nation as we were having this debate that could very well take $1 trillion out of Medicaid? About those who need the care the most, as if they're just expendable, as if they are just some remainder on the equation of capitalism that is just pushed to the wayside, as just an inevitability, as a shrug of the shoulder of our society and say, I'm sorry for what happened to you, without a care and an extended arm and a hand to reach out and pull them up. Let's be very clear, this bill will cause prices to drive up. In New Jersey alone, over 454,000 families will see higher costs in premiums, according to the New Jersey Department of Banking and Insurance, which is why I'm introducing an amendment to make sure this bill wouldn't raise these costs by striking provisions that would increase premiums or out-of-pocket costs under Medicaid, the Children's Health Insurance Program, and some private insurance marketplaces too. We cannot allow billionaires to get richer while working families are seeing drastic increases to their premiums or out-of-pocket costs. Costs to keep their children healthy as we deal with the worst measles epidemic in decades. Costs to afford their kids medicine while we see our government attacking science and fact, making parents have to work that much harder to keep their children safe. With all the challenges we are dealing with right now, it's painful to think through what will happen if this bill goes into effect. And the fact that these healthcare cuts will increase our gaps, worsen conditions for our vulnerable communities, including children. If we can't stand up for them, for our children, who are we willing to stand up for? And as I said at the beginning, every family has a healthcare story. Everyone has felt overwhelmed in the face of sickness and injury. Just a year ago, my father took a fall. I got the call while I was on the campaign trail, rushed down to the hospital. But even after the surgery, what we learned is there was an even more debilitating challenge that we face, a cognitive decline as my father is descending into dementia. I just spent Father's Day weekend with my father, the entire weekend. But it was in the emergency room as he had twice fallen in 2 days, 2 separate trips to the emergency room. My family is overwhelmed right now. We struggle to think through his needs that go far beyond what we can be able to provide, goes far beyond what Medicare can provide. And it's not just my father and my family. We have failed seniors. We have failed as we have failed to plan and create a place for elder care in this country that preserves a foundation of dignity and decency for everybody. And when you are in the trenches fighting for your own life or gripping the hand of a loved one struggling, the last thing you want to think about is worrying if you're eligible for this treatment or that. You want to be able to provide what it takes for your loved one to survive, to be able to go a little further, spend a little more time on this planet with us, and to grow our love deeper. And we think about that, and then we ask ourselves, well, why is this bill happening? Why are these cuts happening? It's not to bring down the deficit. Instead, it's going to balloon the deficit by trillions of dollars. Who among us in this country think that the problems that we face as a nation is because the wealthiest among us don't have enough? The distrust in government right now, it's not because politics isn't doing enough to help the most well-off in our country, the billionaires and the millionaires. I ask my colleagues to find the courage to do the right thing. I want us to bring back to 2017, in this very chamber, as senators gathered to decide the fate of the Affordable Care Act, which was at the time hanging by a thread. Many of my colleagues here in this chamber were also on the floor at that time. I was not. I was a regular citizen, angry at what I was seeing unfolding, watching it on my phone. A citizen that felt so detached from what was happening on this chamber. I remember thinking to myself, how could the Senate be seriously considering doing such harm to this country, to so many Americans, by trying to gut pre-existing condition protections, the Affordable Care Act, so much others? I asked myself, am I missing something? Am I missing information to understand why it is that this is even happening? And we saw rushed conversations, and we saw people running back and forth. And we also saw Senator John McCain step up and signal with his arm that he did not stand for this. Senator McCain's vote was a rare moment of doing what you know is right, even when you're surrounded by noise telling you it's wrong. It's surreal now finding myself on the floor of the Senate in a similar moment in our own nation's history, when so much on the line with this vote, and I look around this chamber and yet again think the exact same questions from 8 years ago. How can the Senate seriously be considering gutting care for so many? And now, with the benefit of being here and the conversations and the information, I'm still left with this question of, am I missing something? How is it that such an esteemed body that is meant to protect the American people, in this chamber where so many decisions have been made to protect the American people, that we are on the cusp of doing something that will do generational damage to so many American families? This vote before us seems as surreal and reckless from within this chamber as it does from outside. But while the problem is the same, so is the solution. It is about courage, the courage John McCain had, the courage that so many of my constituents have, so many people who have called and shared their personal stories, stories about their family's health they probably had never told anybody, but they feel so desperate right now to do something that they are willing to open themselves up. Be able to pull back the curtain of the dangers and the pain that they have endured. To be able to try to do anything to stop this bill from hurting Americans. That is courage. And it's courage about standing up against the big money and the special interest, and sometimes it feels insurmountable. And I say to my colleagues here today that you won't be remembered by whether or not you pass this bill on President Trump's timeline, or you feign concern about constituents just to be able to stab them in the back later. You'll be remembered by your courage to stand up and say no. You'll be remembered by your courage to speak out for the people, not just the few who have paid, but for all of us. You'll be remembered in the same way as our former colleague was remembered, by what he did 8 years ago. I urge you to remember that this job is bigger than all of us, bigger than any one man, any one party. It is about using our vote and our courage to make lives better for those that we represent. History and the American people are watching. You still have time. You still have power. I still believe in this chamber and believe it can be a force for good. Let us use it for the children, for the disabled, for those not in this room. And with that, I yield back.